Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience yesterday. I understand it must have been quite a shock, but I'm feeling a little better now, so that's good. I hope you're not feeling too overwhelmed by the amount of change. I hope that you've had some time to process what happened yesterday. I've had plenty of time of my own. Perhaps not really enough time. But it is what it is. I'm fine to keep going, and I feel just a little bit better about everything now. To be honest, I don't really blame any of you for struggling to get used to this. It's taken me quite some time to get used to as well. Hold on. We've just had the pleasure, actually, of premiering the soundtrack for the Demon Hungers, so I thought it might make for a good listen. Hold on. Very nice. Oh, that's brilliant. So, today I wanted to treat as something of a tell-all. Many of you have a lot of questions, and as is very much in my taste, I did my best with the Demon Hungers to leave many things up to interpretation. I personally am not a fan of especially personal projects, sort of revealing projects like that film of when everything is spelled out for you. It almost feels manipulative in a way, and so I really enjoy how there have been many different interpretations of it. But today, I am here to set the record straight on many different things. We've had a lot of very good, challenging questions asked, and I'm really glad about the fact that many of you have not held back quite so much. Some questions have definitely rubbed me the wrong way. I think many of you are taking this in quite the wrong direction, let's say. Also, I have my new mixer. If my voice sounds low at all, please do let me know, okay? Thank you for all of the support, everyone, as well. Yes, I am. Yes, I am now the tallest in Nijisan, but only as long as this form lasts. And to be truthful, it varies wildly. But of course, we'll get into some of that a little bit later on. Bump my voice up a little bit, of course I can. One moment. My worry is that I'm going to talk too loud and it's going to clip a little bit, but perhaps that sounds a little better. I feel calmer. I've had enough time to really process this, and remember, this kind of thing has happened to me before. It's happened to me before quite a few times, as you might have guessed. So I think before we begin, some essential stuff that I really want to make you aware of. This kind of thing has been happening for a long time, and my strategy essentially for staying alive without this happening has been to take lives in self-defense, or perhaps in situations where it feels warranted, and only ever one at a time, because more than once and it quickly can spiral out of control, as you can see here. Last night I did spiral out of control. It's a fascinating sensation because I am so afraid of doing harm, but right now I'm remembering that moment and how it felt. And it really does feel like some other part of you takes over, you know. But it's fine. So, I don't want to waste any more time. Thank you very much to everyone who has given a donation. I appreciate it very much. I don't need a band-aid. So I know that's not a part of the Q&A, at least not the questions that I've curated so far, but it is a good question. I'll give you a bit of a rundown about how some of this works so that you can understand just a little bit better. So, the way that this transpires is that souls are burned inside me like fuel. If I want to overexert myself, if I push myself, if I fly somewhere, if I breathe or speak fire, being a voice demon, that's sort of more of how that works for me. It pushes them and they are burned like fuel. And from what I can tell, it is painful for them, which is why I try not to overexert myself too often and why I was very upset yesterday. Why don't we take a look at some of these questions? First of all, from Lays, just curious due to observation, does your eye color indicate the level of hunger you have for souls? Now, not quite. It's sort of the opposite. So, towards the end of that story, or at that time, all of the pink in my eyes had vanished. And what this means is, the pink represents how full I am, per se. Or really, I treat it as a indicator of how close I am to losing myself. It's frightening, but it fills up from the top down like a reservoir in reverse. So, previously, you may have seen the layer of pink at the top of my eyes. This meant that I had just enough in me to be alive. Right now, if you look very closely, what you can see is that it's all pink, but there is a very tiny sliver of gold around the center of my eye, which means that I am this close. When yesterday you heard me fly in through one of my windows and scream and roar and cause all of this horrible damage to my home, I was trying to contain the urge to do more. When at the scene of the battle, I began... Sorry. I want to listen to this part. I don't want to listen to that part. Oh, God. When the battle began, all it took was a few of the first souls to throw me into something of a frenzy. You see, what I would do, and the way that I found my middle ground, because I wanted to live in peace with human beings. I've always found them to be remarkable creatures, and it's one of the main reasons why I'm still fighting to stay alive. What I would do is that if someone were to desert, I felt as though it justified taking their life. For a small clan, especially in a world ruled by a much larger shogunate, it felt like I was doing something to keep the rest of my people safe. And also, if they were to desert, I would find them outside and away from the others, which would tend to sate the madness that incurs shortly after taking one. They don't necessarily, some of you have said they have a flavor, and although I describe that feeling as hunger, it's not as though they taste like anything, but the feeling is deeply intoxicating, and I lose myself. If I was to be around a large group of people, this is when the trouble begins, hence why I have my desire to make sure that if I do take a life, it is alone, so that I can suppress that urge and keep living without putting anyone else in danger. Let's take a look. The first 522 kindred died because you were trying to live between humans and suppress your hunger until the point you couldn't handle it anymore. You can't get filled with human food? Yes, this is the great agony, I'm afraid. The way that this essentially transpires is that it's in a demon's nature to need to consume human souls. If we don't, as you saw in the film, we slowly wither up and die, sometimes faster than others. Like I've mentioned before, each soul affects us differently. You may notice that my horns look different from last time, and that's because last time I felt in a state of great mental clarity, and they only affected me so slowly, whereas in this situation the altercation was quite chaotic, and they emerged in a much less comfortable position. Like I mentioned before, after emerging from the ground, and when I was more typically demon-like, I didn't really think twice. If I was hungry, I was hungry, and that was that. But then time passed, humans entered my life, and I realized how much I cared for them. And soon I couldn't be without them. And so the clan was my way of satisfying this urge. I could stay alive by, in my mind, justifiably killing and taking the souls of people who I felt I could justifiably do that to. And I would be able to safely live in harmony with human beings. But as you all know, it didn't last quite so long. It's a great cowardice and a great selfishness, I think, because if I truly loved humans and wasn't just selfishly trying to fill some void in me, then I would stay away from them. And this is a question that we'll see pop up later on. Why not just, why do this online? So that I can know you without putting you in danger. You're safe at home, and if you're not physically near to me, we can interact and I can know you without putting you in any danger. And to me, that feels like enough. Did you summon the sword, or get the sword because you needed it in that moment? So, many people have asked about my sword, and I'm happy to divulge this like anything else. The sword is less of a physical object and more of a familiar. What you may notice is that when I was in this form, which, by the way, having consumed hundreds of souls in the battle, I was significantly larger than I am right now. 220 centimeters is quite a lot taller than I am when I'm hungry, but in this moment I was closer to 10 or 12 feet tall. You may notice the sword itself is much larger, and that's because it grows and suits whichever size that I am. It changes in color, it changes in power, and it changes in size, entirely relevant to how big I am. I can pull it out of the ground, or really pull it out of anywhere at any time, and I can also stow it anywhere at any time. It's embarrassing because in my last sort of major outfit, I guess, I would keep it on my hip, which isn't something that I do very often. I feel quite immature for trying to show it off like that. It's not something that I like to have around me because I find it to be strangely tempting. And interestingly, you may wonder, well, if using or exerting yourself burns souls like fuel, yes, the fire that emerges from the soul is fire that emerges from burning souls. Using that sword causes the souls inside me tremendous pain, and hence I try not to use it very often at all. When you consume souls, do you hear their voices in your head, or were the voices overpowered by your guilt? The answer is yes. in moments of extreme peace and clarity, sometimes what I'll do is I will lie back, shut my eyes, and in that moment I can hear a very quiet whisper. And those are the voices of the souls that are trapped inside me. It's one voice usually. Tends not to be a mess of many calling out to me, and it tends to sound different every time. And so it leads me to wonder. I'm not entirely sure what happens to a soul once it has been fully burned, let's say. I don't know if what remains of that soul pops out of me and then travels up to the afterlife. I don't know if they're trapped inside me for eternity in some kind of cursed half-life. I would love to believe that those cruel enough to be consumed by me found peace in the afterlife sometime later. But I simply don't know. Something else that's interesting is that I can see souls as well. They look, to me anyway, like a very strange, shimmering white light that emerges from a person's chest. It's a long string that snakes out of a person's chest and hangs above them as a little floating orb. And sometimes if you listen to one, you can hear little voices and you can sort of understand the sum of a person. They hang above a body for a little bit before the cord is severed and they fly upwards very quickly. But of course, if I'm nearby, they fly toward me even faster. I have a short moment with which to try and escape, but usually I'm not so lucky. Aside from changing forms, does consuming souls affect how effective your powers are? And the answer is yes, they do. The more that I consume, or rather the stronger those souls are, the more that I can use my powers, and also the less control I have over them. There are some people who've asked questions about the way my voice works. It's not mind control. It's more of a form of very powerful suggestion. If you hear my voice, you feel extraordinarily compelled to agree with me or understand my point of view. I can't tell you to do something that will put you in danger unless I have consumed a soul, as you saw in Blood and Snow. After I consumed the soul of the first bandit, I was able to very powerfully influence the other two, not to kill themselves for me or anything, but just to come closer, even though they knew I planned to do them harm. The problem is, it's not something that I can exactly turn off. None of these things are. I don't have the luxury of stowing my horns at any convenient moment. I don't have the luxury of hiding my wings. If I want to play games again, I need to find some kind of solution. I've been thinking of maybe buying some kind of green screen that I can put behind myself with a couple holes in that I might be able to feed my wings through, because I don't have the luxury of turning them off. I can't just flip a switch and get rid of them. Yeah, so it's going to be quite stupid, honestly, some of the solutions I'm going to have to find to try and live in this body for a while, but we'll see. And now another question. Does my tattoo mean something? And the answer is yes. This tattoo appears the closer that I come to losing myself. It appears on my skin when I consume a soul, because it's sort of a way of containing that urge. I want you to look at the red makeup on my eyes. So this isn't a part of my skin or anything, this is just makeup. But culturally, it was given to people or worn as a means of warding off dark thoughts and otherworldly creatures. I wear it because it feels as though I have more control over myself if I have it, and this tattoo is the same way. if I concentrate enough, my skin literally starts to change color and it burns. If I don't do this, and if I fully allow this power to overtake me, I start to look quite different. My skin starts to harden and darken, and my eyes become fully pink, my fangs are longer, and my wings are sturdier. It's almost like tonsillitis in a way. You're aware of how if you get a disease, sometimes the tonsils will sort of take the bullet. That's what this is. If I focus hard enough, I can direct some souls just into creating this pattern. But of course, if there were too many, it would cover me entirely, and I worry that that might be too late. This is where the majority of the pain comes from. If your power is one that leads to death for all humans, how are you able to be with and communicate with the human members of Luxiem? Were you able to free yourself or lower the hunger's effect somehow? Is Luxiem somehow immune? And this is a very good question. And it's a difficult one, because no, they're not any more immune, nor are they in any less danger than anyone else. The fact is, I had a very long and good streak of successes when it came to containing those urges for quite some years before I met Luxiem. And the fact is, I cared for them so much, and I enjoyed spending time with them so much, that I became complacent. And I just spent time with them hoping that nothing would go wrong. Now that this has happened, I know how foolish I was, and how much I know now that I mustn't spend time with anyone in person. I always become complacent like this because I'm a coward. Every time I spend maybe a year or so without a major incident, I think, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe I'll be able to spend some time with a person and they won't be in any danger if there's nothing around that might suddenly cause them to die. Maybe I won't deny them an afterlife. Maybe I won't lose control and try to take the souls from the rest of them as well. I only knew them in a long-distance capacity until April of 2022, when I went to go and spend time with Mysta and Ike and Nina. And it was by then, it had been 5 months or so since I had debuted, and I thought, maybe it'll be okay. And it was. But it very nearly couldn't have been. And that was wrong of me, and I won't make that same mistake again. Behind this door is New Sedonia. Is it like Truman Show, where you create a world, watch them like a god, and visit it now and then? Is it out of your own guilt, or do you need happy souls to keep you strong? So this is a really good question. New Sedonia as a song, it's not one that I wrote. That song was written by someone else, but those lyrics are very meaningful to me. Because, as I mentioned, when I shut my eyes and I focus in moments of deep clarity and peace, I can hear them. And sometimes I can hear them celebrating. Sometimes they sound happy. And so, when I listen to this song, I try to tell myself that perhaps while they may have been denied a greater afterlife, maybe sometimes the afterlife they do have inside me isn't all so bad. I just wish I could talk to them a little bit more. I hear vague ideas and bits and pieces from them, but never enough to truly understand them like I want to. I have to to move on from this question. This is a good change of pace. If you're physically there in New Sedonia, does that mean you can only see us every time you're in deep slumber? Well, kind of previously asked it, but I'm not in New Sedonia. It's just an idea. It's a song by Starcadian that I thought was meaningful to me. It's nothing more than that. It's what I've chosen to call it. It's not a real place. It's just the place where your soul goes, if you're unlucky enough to be around me when you die. Is chat just voices in your head? I think some of you are kind of going off the rails a little bit with your understanding of how this works. There is no role play element to this. There is no, oh, you, by listening, that I'm somehow trying to steal your soul by you listening. All of this is just as it presents itself. Where are you right now? You're at home, or maybe you're on the bus. You're watching this on your computer or on your phone or on a tablet or something. That's where you are. You're a human being, and that's that. There's no extra element to it. I'm not trying to convince you that you exist inside me because you wouldn't want to. Don't overthink this. All you are is a human being who I've connected with, and who is lucky enough to have done so in a time when I can afford to do it without being close to you, because if you were close to me, you would be in danger constantly. And I'm glad that I can truly feel like I can connect with you now without putting you at risk. Dumb question. This is your real demon form, and before then human. I don't have a human form. I look more human when I'm hungry, hence why I'm able to blend in with the family that I met and with other humans that I met after that family. So what is this outfit? And perhaps this will be disappointing to some of you, but this outfit is just that. It's an outfit. When I wear this robe, it might come at a time when I've successfully taken one soul to live a little bit longer, but those horns aren't real. That costume is something that was designed by a company so that I could satisfy that part of you that wants to get invested in my past. But it's not real. There's a reason why I'm wearing a red shirt, and it's because that's what I usually wear. And I happened to be wearing it when I lost control and blew up into this. That outfit is a nice fantasy. It looks nice. But the paint is something that I put on. The makeup is something that I wear by choice. And the horns are fake. Yeah, exactly. It's cosplay. It looks nice, but it's no more than something I wanted to wear in order to satiate your curiosity. So it was Tokugawa who fought you back and then killed you, but the reason why he did it was that we thought he was evil, but he just fought you to prevent more deaths. Yes. The real hero of the story is Tokugawa. He attacked the castle out of a desire to free my people from me. He knew what was happening, had heard of what was going on, and when he offered to merge borders, he was making one final peace offering. Perhaps to encourage me to find some middle ground, but I knew that if I allowed that, I would lose my kindred. I would lose my clan because they would be exposed to what life is like on the outside, and they would be exposed to how not normal our deal was. Thank you very much for the red carpet. I'll make sure to read these once I've dealt with the majority of the questions, but it's very, very kind of you. To know that you think I'm still deserving of that kind of affection is very kind. And I will read it when I have a moment. Thank you very much. Tokugawa is the hero of the story, and I, in essence, in spite of wanting to be loved and wanting to find companionship, I went about it in a way that was selfish. And that makes me the villain. Real life, as this isn't always so black and white, but I really do feel that way about what I did. I know that you all like to look back on that clan as something whimsical and fantastic that was taken away by a ruthless tyrant, but all he wanted was to unify his country. And he did. And those people might have been free if it weren't for one soldier being killed, and that being enough to spiral me out of control. Surrounded by hundreds of dead, I was so far gone, sometimes I wonder how much of the nightmare that I saw, how much of it is true, and how much of it is just what I imagine it must have been. But I do know that that is the form I took, and I know that I'm to blame for my people's deaths. The reason why you have asymmetrical horns, wings, and arms is that you're not fully sated. This is untrue, but the reason that they are asymmetrical is simply because I was not entirely in control, let's say, when I transformed into this. When I transformed, I was in such a state of pain and such a state of stress because those souls entered me so quickly and so violently. These horns erupted from my head in a spout of blood. My clothes ripped, my wings, again, erupted from my back in a spout of blood. My fingernails grew into claws, my veins pulsed, and my body grew as well. I transformed so much that my face changed, and it was incredibly painful. This normally happens differently if I'm in a better state too. If I was to slowly consume these souls over a certain period, like in Blood and Snow, when I was fully confident, then perhaps I would look a little different. But right now, this is how I look. This is a nice one. It's always a joy to see you be able to express your full potential and creativity in your work. Thank you. In this movie, you were the director, producer, and editor, helped with writing and also acted in it, and you worked in all stages of the film, pre-production and post-production. What are some things that you learned throughout the process, or things that you had to teach yourself in order to make this movie the amazing masterpiece that it is today? I appreciate your compliments, but you know, I'll try to resist taking that literally. You know, it's okay. I appreciate it, but I did have to learn quite a lot. So I would say the biggest thing that I learned would have to be organization-wise. There are a lot of different things that I came to realize and that I learned late into production. In particular, the Great Nightmare was originally written by Onigiri, but I rewrote it because I felt as though I wanted it to be different and more accurate to my own experience. Onigiri was not there at the time of the battle, and I am the only one who saw that nightmare in the way that I saw it. And also the epilogue, where I elaborate on why I didn't just let myself die, was also written by me quite late into the creative process. And in some places, a lot of assets and artwork was completed very close to release. I know that if I had a greater understanding of this project and its growth from a conceptual level, I would have been able to ask for these things earlier. And really, I feel tremendously carried by the work that's been done by my crew. In so many places, I would ask them, I need this done and I need it done fast. And I would always apologize and say, I'm sorry for having made you work so hard, but they always understood. And this is why I appreciate them so very much. They really picked up and and carried my ass in quite a few different situations, and I'm very grateful to them for that. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned, is to have the plan all figured out from moment one. New Sedonia also has a scene of fire burning your hand, and the truth has a sound that sounds like a fire burning during the intro. Does the fire represent the soul? Well, as I mentioned, souls do burn inside of me when I try to use some kind of power, but that fire you heard was just me trying to contain the amount of pain I was feeling. I screamed a little too loud and fire came out of me. It was very painful, and I burned a good part of my room, and you can hear the fact that at the end of that, I keep a fire extinguisher under my desk because this kind of thing has happened before. Why did you start the first clan? Why did you want to protect humans so much? The only reason why is because I love them. I spent many years, decades, after emerging from the ground, spent many years living as a demon and consuming souls wherever I wanted. But sooner or later, I developed a really strong affection for human beings. And hence the clan was my way of living alongside them and only putting them in danger if they directly disobeyed me and put the others in danger. I thought that might have made it okay, but I know that's just me lying to myself. What made you leave the underworld, and why were you weak once on Earth? I don't have many memories of the underworld. I left in such a weakened state that I felt as though I couldn't remember much of it at all. I remember my early childhood, which, however many years ago that was, I can't remember. It could have been hundreds, it could have been thousands, but I remember little bits and pieces. But I don't remember why I left. All I know is that I left feeling a great sadness, and a lot of anger too. But what I do remember is the challenge I faced escaping. I would have been far more powerful than I am now for me to be strong enough to escape the underworld. But I would have fought hard in order to escape, and many souls would have been burned. So I think that I must have just overexerted myself climbing all the way out, and then when I reached the top I needed food. And they were my food. You stated before that you don't like other demons. Is it because of how they treated humans? I would say that's why I don't like other demons now. Living in the underworld, I most likely felt the same way that they did, which is sort of the ant has no quarrel with the boot. But now, I really do feel that other demons don't have the level of understanding that I do. They don't view humans in the same way, they view them as fuel. But to me, I know that that's disgusting and a perversion of a demon's own emotions and sense of self-preservation. I understand that you are your own creatures, and to take your lives as a means of sustaining my own would be incredibly selfish. And it is selfish to still be alive, purely out of my own fear of what God will do to me once I do die. So, I'm not sure what you mean by timeline, but chronologically this was the first day that I spent on Earth. The moment that I erupted from that fiery hole on the ground was the moment I escaped from the underworld and wanted to start a life on Earth. This is the first thing that I did, was confront these bandits, take their souls, and begin my journey. Thank you again to everyone who's being so generous with donations. I apologize for not reading them right now, but I will get to it at the end. Thank you. My lord, I'm also very curious why you got different horns. Oh, right. I've already answered this one. But yes, it greatly depends on the rate and violence at which souls are consumed and my emotions when I start to transform. If I'm calm, they come out smoother, and if I'm in pain, they erupt and cause more pain, and it's a pretty vicious cycle, and I can't stand it. But that's how that goes. I'm curious if human food makes you feel full or even a little bit. How does it taste to you? Human food is delicious to me. Unlike some creatures from folklore, like witches perhaps, although I'm not sure. I think these are mostly just human depictions of these creatures. To demons, human food is delicious, and I do get hungry, literally hungry, like a human being does, which I sate by eating real food. When I first met the family, I was hungry both literally and figuratively, and the human food they gave me did sustain me from day to day, but demons have souls as an additional requirement. And I will become literally hungry in the stomach for souls as well. It can be quite confusing sometimes. I know it's time for me to go out of my way and find someone who maybe deserves to be dealt with when I eat a delicious meal and I still feel hungry. You mentioned the deserters who left the clan that were killed. Be honest, did you ever convince anyone to leave with your voice so you could consume their soul? Is that how you kept it together so long? No. Very honestly, every person that I killed up until the battle left of their own accord. I made it clear to everyone that there would be consequences if they tried to desert because of the nature of war and what this represented for the clan, but people still left. And I think it's because they became aware of what was happening and they wanted to get out. But I'm a lot faster than they are, and they don't know how many years I've been practicing with my sword. They've tried to fight me before, but none have succeeded. Up until the battle with Tokugawa, no one had defeated me in battle yet. Just my theory, but I think my lord didn't kill Jiro. He fought against his hunger until Jiro died, and his body consumed Jiro's soul. He was meant to die, so maybe he'll be happy that he can make my lord better. I did kill him. I can't act like I didn't. I can't feign and pretend that I'm innocent. I killed him simply by being in close vicinity, and I killed him by convincing myself that I could die peacefully without something going wrong. He was sick, yes. But, as his mother said, he had been doing much better since spring. He was sick, but he was healing. And in my moment of greatest need, simply by reaching out and touching him, I accelerated his illness, and a few short days later he died. It is my fault, and if I had left, he may have lived a much longer and happier life. But knowing him, the last part of your question is probably true. I think that there would be a sense of happiness in him, knowing that he was keeping me alive. Should we play music at a time like this? Do you truly care for the kindred now, or are we only seen like cattle on a farm and used for hunger? I never saw you that way, but I did treat you that way. It was wrong of me, and I should have found another way, or really, considering the way that I feel about humans, perhaps I should have let myself die before I could do something that would lead me to be so afraid of judgment, but it's too late now. The clan was not the first time that I tried to live alongside humans in some kind of middle ground to satiate my desire for companionship, nor was it the last. Film was great. Can we expect a sequel? Yes. My greatest desire at the moment is to continue to be honest. My greatest want is to tell you more. This film, to me, is a prototype and proof of concept for what can come next. What I want is to tell stories that are bigger and grander. The reason why, really, other than it being one of the most important stories and most important parts of my life, is because so much of it is so simple. It's the time that I spent with a family, and the time that I felt like I was a father to someone. I'm glad I told that story, but you know that after that, I simply kept living. The other members of Luxiem wound up traveling from their own time to this time, but I traveled to this time simply by waiting. And in that time, many more things happened. It was never as simple as just hibernating. It was never as simple as just jumping forward in time, which, to be honest, still amazes me that that's even possible. I just waited. And in that time, to stay alive, to wait that long, I had to kill many people. And each one of them has a story, and those are stories worth telling. At the end of the film, who were you referring to when you said this line? I pray I do not meet him. Well, I was referring to God. In a very vague sense. I don't think that I believe in... Your interpretation of religion is your own. I don't know if I could speak to the truth or the untruth of any one religion, but I know there is some greater power. I know there is an afterlife, and it is ruled by someone, and whoever that person is, I felt them staring at me. In a moment where I felt I could have simply let myself die in order to, once and for all, rid the world of the pain I was capable of inflicting on it, I became too cowardly. I became too afraid. And I realized that whatever it was he could do to me, I didn't want to find out. And so I pray that in the event that someday I do die, that perhaps he forgets. But a part of me knows he won't. Does your inner voice only appear when you're hungry? It seems you've lived alongside it for a long time. Is eating souls the only way you can get it to quiet down? How often do you need to do this? So to give you a bit of clarity about what that voice is, there is no evil voice inside my head telling me what to do. That voice is just me. That voice is just my urge to eat. It is my inner monologue. It is the voice that I hear when I think. Or rather, it's the voice that I hear when I think while I'm hungry. You can call it my inner demon, or you can call it some kind of center, but I know it's just me. and the desire that I feel to keep living. Simple as that. It is instinct, and it's very strong. The fact that I managed to resist its influence when I was living with that family is miraculous to me. Jesus. Never stop being clumsy. If anything, I feel more clumsy now. Need to get a proper playlist of nice songs to play during chatting streams from this soundtrack. Just listening to the album on YouTube is definitely liable to mishaps, but it's okay. It's okay. Yes, it's these damn claws. If you were watching the premiere for the soundtrack earlier, I tried typing a message and then I fat-fingered the enter key and sent it before it was ready. My fingers are much larger now, and typing with these claws, it feels really difficult. And how often do you need to do this is a good question, and the simple answer is that it varies. Sometimes, for example, after the battle I was overexerting myself so much, and indeed after I sustained that deadly wound from Tokugawa, I had to pour a lot of my energy and indeed burn a lot of the souls inside me in order to heal that wound. And so, while many hundreds of souls were inside me at that time, they only lasted me for a few years as I hibernated and slowly, very slowly, burned them in that cave while I slept. Yes, 3 years in the cave I waited, and those souls were enough to very slowly sustain me for that much time. It was many hundreds, but they only lasted me that long until I started to get hungry. And then Jiro's soul lasted me for months. It lasted me from all the way from the summer up until it began to snow. His soul was very powerful, but it entered me with such a state of peace and with longing that it didn't change my physical form at all, other than making me a little less bony. And I think that this has made me consider how important it is that when a soul is consumed, to have some kind of understanding with the person who you're taking it from. Because even in his last moments, I know that the thoughts in his mind were of praying that I woke up. Perhaps this carried him even closer to the grave, because without knowing it, his desire was to die so that I could be safe. Another question that I'm not sure if it was asked was about how consuming a soul allows me to learn a language. And it's because consuming a soul is an incredibly, I'm not sure how to describe this, close experience. A soul is the summary, the exact summary of a person's whole being. Their thoughts, their ambitions, their feelings, their emotions, their memories, everything. And so when I consume it, I see it all, and I feel it all. I knew his intentions, and if I was speaking some other language, when I consume a soul in that way, I understand their life through their eyes. I understand it through their language. And at that point, speaking it feels like second nature. It's like a rush of information blasts through me. And that's all it needs to be. can you consume my soul through Wi-Fi if I die watching your stream? No. If this was possible, I never would have begun streaming in the first place. I never would have considered this as a job opportunity, because if this were true, imagine a stream as we have had. The most I've ever had watching a stream is almost 90,000. Think of the chances that 1 in 90,000 people die. Think of the chances that one of those people, perhaps, has a soul angry and powerful enough to send me into a frenzy. Would you want the whole world to see me that way? I was making an entire film to show you that part of myself in my own way, and it coming out without warning was not something that I ever wanted, even though yesterday it happened anyway. The tattoo on your face or chest looks like the smoky effects used with the inner voice text. Is there a correlation? Yes. I've always known what this has looked like. This snaky sort of pattern on my skin, and as a representation of my desire to contain my hunger, I felt that it was strangely poetic to have it be represented by this sort of effect. Were you able to find a way to make regular food filling? Well, I don't need to, but no, I enjoy it just as much as any other food, and I relish the taste, and I enjoy eating it. And that's about it. I'm not sure if lacking normal human food would make me starve, per se, but it would definitely be quite painful. I don't know if it could kill me, though. I'd have to find out. Was this the part you wrote? Yes, this is the part that I wrote. I wrote this quite late because the reason I added the epilogue was because I felt as though the story needed a little bit more to stand on its own. I had the idea, perhaps, of telling people more about myself after the fact. I saw it as exclusively a companion piece to these streams, and I thought maybe any missing context I can fill in after the fact, and I've done that slightly, but that epilogue I felt was too important, because anyone who watched the film and then did not go on to speak with me like this, they may wonder, why doesn't he just die? And the answer is because I'm afraid. And that's it. How did the wolf die? There was no fight, but you didn't consume yokai souls. I do. Yokai have souls. Animals have souls. They all do. But they're not enough. In the same way that I managed to do harm to Jiro by touching him, I don't remember quite well, but I grabbed a hold of it and it died. A yokai or an animal soul is enough to sustain a demon for a very, very, very short time. That's about as close as we come, I would say, to our equivalent of normal human food. I could have a yokai soul for breakfast and I would be hungry again by lunchtime. It kept me alive for a little while, but this is why I can't really live as much of a vegetarian, let's say. It's just not enough. And it also, for a demon, is a poor diet. If I only ever ate yokai or animals, I would slowly deteriorate anyway. Might keep me going for a little bit longer, but each time it would sustain me for less and less time. And that's just the cross we have to bear. Well, already answered this. What made you want to join NIJISANJI despite the potential danger? The very reason I joined was to prevent this danger. The very reason I joined was to have what I've always wanted, which was a relationship with human beings. It was connection. And I knew that if I did so from a distance, that I wouldn't be putting you in danger like I have done before. And I'm glad that I know that I can speak with you without putting you in real danger. Oh, this is a good one. This is from Ian, who was a part of the session musician crew who worked on the soundtrack. I Vox Akuma on the film, said it before, saying it again, thank you, and Diego for letting me be a part of the music team. Curious to know what your first reaction was when you received the OST drafts and final mixes. This is fantastic. So, a lot of the way that this worked was that Diego would compose something digitally, and then he would send it to me in a purely digital state, without session music, and I would think, yeah, you know, this is good, and I wouldn't really understand what it would sound like once it had been buffed up with session music, and then hearing that sort of authenticity brought to those tracks that I already liked was fantastic. It was an incredible experience, and one thing that I specifically asked Diego was, you know, I want this to sound very intimate, and I want it to sound very organic, and I think that if it sounds, you know, like it's been too digitally composed, then it won't be quite as special. And he really took that seriously and went very far out of his way to make sure that he got something done that really followed through on what I wanted to do. And thank you so much to you, Ian, for your hard work, especially on the track The Man from Omar that plays during my nightmare. That track evolved by far the most, and it is a real knockout. I would highly recommend listening to the soundtrack when you get the chance. We've got a little bit of it on now, so anyone listening, if you'd like to check it out, I think you'll find it very, very nice. It's great for a study session. Don't call me as scaly, okay. But why do you look dragon-like, but with more of a European dragon look? The simple fact of this is that all demons look different. I emerged in Japan and had some aspects of my wardrobe inspired by the culture that I was a part of while I lived there. But the way that my wings look, the way that my horns look, it's just the way I am. There's no real truth or untruth to the way that any one demon looks. There are plenty that do resemble a more Eastern idea of what a demon would look like, and there are many that represent what an Eastern or Western idea of a dragon would look like. I've met many demons, and a lot of them represent the ideas of demons from many different parts of folklore. The fact is, folklore comes from any given culture's experience with those kinds of creatures, and they are all based on some truth to an extent. A really good example, actually, would be one day there's a story I'd like to tell you that's very important, and at some point in that story I meet another demon by the name of Bakasura. He was particularly ravenous and consumed souls faster than the average demon, and he comes from Hindu mythology, which is interesting, isn't it? There is truth to all of the ways in which human beings interact with the supernatural, and I'm just one of them. Just because I emerged in Japan first doesn't mean that demons that don't look a little bit more like me happen to be around more European regions. So I think the first one we might have already answered, kind of. The first question, how many people's souls do you need to devour to transform? It varies, and I transform a tiny bit, a little bit, every time I consume one. I grow maybe a centimeter or two if I've consumed one in a state of peace, but if I consume a lot of them very quickly, then something like this happens. How long can you keep the original form without eating any humans? It varies again. The hundreds of souls that I consumed after the battle were consumed quite quickly over the course of 300 for 3 years is very fast. But Jiro's, like I said, lasted me for many months, perhaps because inside me he was at peace. Or at least that's what I'd like to believe. Have you been hungry the whole time since you debuted? And the answer is not quite. I've never gotten to the state of starvation that I was during, or at least what is represented in the film. I have been hungry at times, but I found enough of a system for myself where I would be able to keep myself just sustained enough. So I was never starving, but there were times when I might have disappeared for a little while. In that time, I was most likely trying to suppress the effects of consuming more souls. The only reason it's different this time is because I felt that you deserve to know the truth, and because it all happened by accident. Anytime this has happened before, it's been planned. Something that if I've wanted to spend time away, it's been a good time for me to risk something like this. And so, someone who might deserve it, let's say, if I go into I say I try to find people who deserve it to justify to myself why I do it and to make myself feel better about it, but really, truly, honestly, those people only act that way around me. They only give me shit if I put myself in their way. And I do so because I have an intent to kill someone. If I hadn't done that, they might very well still be alive. But I try not to think about it too much. It's too painful. Stop fucking pitying me. Is this Baba? Amazing timing for the music. This is not Baba. Baba is a character that I made up when I was playing D&D with my friends. Baba is just a character. I care for him very much, but this monkey was just a happy little thing that happened while I was speaking with the mother from that family. In a way, I kind of felt like him, in the sense that he was scavenging for food. And I think that when I said we're looking for food, companionship, or family, I think I felt like him in a way. I sort of forgave myself a little bit. But, that monkey doesn't have a name. It was a wild animal who came in and wanted some food. And just like he took advantage of the mother's kindness, so did I. Who is this? I know there's been some debate. This is Tokugawa. This was supposed to be... Visually, what the poster represents is the fact that Tokugawa is reflected in my sword, as I've always told you that he is the cause of my strife and my agony. But the real cause of it is behind me. The great flame with that maw that my mouth erupts into if I lose control is the real danger. Many people thought that this was Tenshi, which is a reasonable thing to think, given the white hair, but it's not. You will learn about Tenshi eventually. He is a very important part of my life, and I'm looking forward to telling you about how I came to meet him, but it was not for quite some time after this. I met him much later, but he's a very important part of my life, and I'm looking forward to you hearing more about him, but that won't be happening today. I said I'd tell you a lot of things, but not everything. Your bracelet is missing. Does it have the power to suppress you? No. The bracelet is a bracelet. It is a nice little thing that I wear on my wrist because it looks nice. When I grew, I did so violently that my arm increased in size and it snapped and the beads flew everywhere. And that's that. If you were to die, what would happen to the souls within your body? Perhaps the idea being, maybe they would then find some kind of afterlife. What I do know is that when a demon kills another demon, any souls still left inside the demon that dies will immediately get sucked into the demon that killed them. So in a sense, if I were to go around killing demons instead, perhaps I could rid myself of some of the guilt that I feel from having to kill human beings, but I know that I'd only be further prolonging the suffering of those souls. And also, killing demons can sometimes be very dangerous, and it may ruin a bit of your fantasy about me, but because I choose to be weak, I choose to consume one at a time if I have a choice. I'm a very, very weak demon by comparison. In this form, I'm much more competent at that kind of thing, but ordinarily I'm good with the sword and I can be quite convincing, and that's about it. I'm a pretty pathetic demon when I'm small, and I choose to be that way. Right now, I don't want to put myself around anybody because one wrong move and I could really lose myself, and then I don't know when I would stop. What were you going to say to Juro here? It's difficult to remember, but from what I know, what you have to remember is that at the time, I was on what I thought was my deathbed, and I was very happy there. I hadn't developed any kind of all-consuming fear of God or of punishment. I was excited to die, because I knew that I wouldn't have the chance to put this family in danger. I knew that they were in danger. I knew that I was being selfish by choosing to stay. But I thought I had a chance that instead of dying alone, perhaps I could die surrounded by people that I loved. And so this may have been the last thing I ever said to anyone. And I think what I wanted to say to him was simply, I want you to be happy. And I want you to get better. I want you to be good to your family, even if I'm not around for much longer. And in an ideal world, he would have had the chance to do so. If I had told him this without touching him on the head, as I had wanted to do for a very long time, to know what it felt like to be hugged, to know what it felt like to reassure someone. I wanted to know what it was like before I died. And that alone was too much. And that alone was what killed him. And that alone is what set off the chain of dominoes that led to me still being alive today. Not accusing you of anything, but there seems to be particular children you care for throughout your film. Were you just terribly fond of them? I'm not going to read that last part. Like I said, souls don't have a particular taste. But I would ask you to look inside yourself. Think of how you view children. Think of their innocence. Think of the way they view the world with hope and with optimism. Think of the way that even the smallest of things can be exciting and hopeful and wonderful. The fact is, well, sometimes with adults, I can pretend, trying to make myself believe that I might be doing a just thing sometimes by putting them out of their misery, but I know that there's no way I could do that to a child. And looking at Jiro, I remembered all of the children who died when the castle fell. Some of them caught in the crossfire of the battle, but some of them, as you might imagine, when I lost control, were killed by me too. And while I loved Jiro like a son, I think that a part of me really wanted to feel as though I could make him happier than I made them. And that's the last question I've got. Thank you, everyone, for your patience today, and thank you for coming and listening to me. We've got quite a lot longer. I do have more time, so if you would like to ask me any more questions, please go right ahead. I'm sorry if my life isn't palatable to you. If you find me repulsive, I don't blame you. If you'd like to leave, I won't track you down like a deserter. I repulse myself, so I know, and I expect that for many of you I won't be quite the same person as you've come to love, and I understand. I couldn't ask you to stay. Thank you very much for all of the support today, everybody. Poppy, I'm glad you enjoyed my monologue. I wrote it all in one sitting, and I didn't change it very much. It's essentially a first draft, but it's very close to how I feel about that kind of thing, so it's, it's very close to it. You know what the hardest part is? It's that even still, I am letting my selfishness win. You must know that, especially when I am more powerful as I am now, the way that I can be persuasive is even stronger. While I try to tell you you can leave, and I try to tell you not to pity me, and I try to tell you that you should find me repulsive, you won't. You never will. You're being manipulated, and I have no choice in that. Many of you know this. Because you are, you won't let me go. Well, if you do want to stay, I can't stop you. Literally, I can't. It's very much in my nature that people are drawn to me, And so, I can't blame you for being a victim of the way that I work. I only hope that I can use that in a way that makes you happy, instead of bringing further ruin to people that I care about. Oh, God. Just drinking in the way that my life is going to be for some time. Obviously, when I look like this, I can't leave the house. If I need to get food, I'll have to rely on grocery deliveries and tell them to just leave it at the door. I have to get my medication delivered by mail. Won't be able to go to restaurants. Won't be able to see people. So selfish. I am so selfish, aren't I? Why is that where my mind goes? To turn me into this, 3 people died. And inevitably, because I still look like this, their souls are burning inside me. And my mind goes to inconveniences. My mind goes to, again, how badly I wish I was human. You're right. I am selfish, aren't I? Perhaps this form of self-pity is selfish in and of itself. Well, I know that about myself now. It's all right. I'll get used to it. Goodness. You're all being so generous. Well, thank you. Thank you for still choosing to support me, even after everything I've done. I have to say thank you for that. Perhaps there will be a way that we can continue to enjoy this strange, fucked up reality that we have created for each other. I shouldn't say that. Really the one that I've created for you, and that you unwittingly became a part of without knowing how dangerous I really was. Any more questions? My throat's getting a little dry. Might be powerful, but I still need to hydrate. Wow. Why did I lie in the first place? That's a very good question. It's a very good question. I lied because I wanted you to love me. I lied because I knew that if on day one, if that film was the way that I was introduced to the world, you wouldn't feel about me in quite the same way. You wouldn't view me in the way that you came to when you saw that the way I told the story when I first debuted, I made you believe that I was the hero of my story, a misunderstood creature who just wanted to have a family. If I had told you then that through a mess of denial and selfishness, I treated the people who cared about me like a battery, I think I knew then that you wouldn't. I think I knew then that you would not feel the same way, and so I chose to lie because I thought that it would be harmless. But you know it wasn't. Very soon after my debut, people fell in love with me and started filling their heads, most likely because of the experience a human feels when they listen to me talk. And their heads were filled with ideas about someday getting to meet me, getting to hold me, kiss me, everything. And I continued to lie about how much I wanted that. I do. I always have. But quite soon after, I realized that it was wrong. And that's why I decided to make the film. I do feel that I love you. I don't know what else this feeling must be. I find it difficult not to love humans that I meet. But you must know that if you ever came to know me in a real way, you would be in danger. You'll never get to touch me. And I certainly will never get to touch you. Because if I did, something like last time might happen. And I don't want to allow that. I think there might be enough questions. I think what I'll do now, try to thank everyone for their donations, because it's miraculous to me that hearing what you've heard, you still want to support me, so I appreciate it. It does deserve thanks. Don't blame yourself. Come the fuck on. Who else am I supposed to blame? Think for a few seconds. Okay, can you think for a few seconds about what you're asking me to do? Don't pity yourself. Don't blame yourself. Blaming myself. Who else is there to blame? I don't care how I make you feel. You need to understand that I told you this truth so that you could be safe. In my life, I've brought untold sadness and pain upon people. Whether or not I personally at that time felt that they might have deserved it or that they were opposing me, they would be alive were it not for me. They would be alive were it not for my cowardice. They would be alive if I could do what I had wanted to do when I lay in my deathbed with that family. If I had been able to die with happiness in my heart, knowing that I was capable of living close to human beings without putting them in harm's way, perhaps I would be granted access to the afterlife, and perhaps, if I did meet God, perhaps he wouldn't view me quite so terribly. But I lived, and I continue to live, and every few months, really, that I keep living, I am choosing to keep living. And each time I do, someone else has to pay the price. So don't you dare tell me that it's not my fault. If I was brave enough to die, perhaps I wouldn't feel quite so bad about it, but I'm not. Some people have asked me why, at the end of the film, the years fly far beyond current year. We reach 2023 and the clock keeps going because I know that I will outlive this century and the next one and the next one and the one after that unto infinity. Because I know myself. I know that I'm not capable of letting myself go. I will keep lying to myself that what I'm doing is justified. And I will live as long as I decide to. And when I'm so afraid to die, hundreds of years into the future, could pass in the blink of an eye, as far as I'm aware. I might have changed my emotions, my opinions. Just because I feel bad about it doesn't mean it's right. I don't get to call myself a good person because I feel bad about it. Fuck me. Okay. Just going to take a minute to thank everyone who's been so kind to me today. I apologize to those of you who wanted a quote-unquote after party. That isn't how this works. Finishing that film was never about popping champagne and patting myself on the back for having done a good job. I was doing something I should have done a very long time ago. Okay. My lord, can't demons cry? Oh yes. I cry a lot. And perhaps I'm pathetic for causing so much pain and acting like that's my cross to bear. But I do. I do all the time. I've cried in front of you before. Anyway. These are some of the donations that came through during the premiere for the film. Sorry. Thank you to YF, Harumi, Capo X, Tairosoa, Rui, Kukumiao, Ame, Nanji, Tosakanai, Ji Hyun Kim, Hot Pot, Manabi, Yuisu, YF, Twice, Sunny, Junya, Doraru's World, Ellie Den, Saginiku's Clip, Roku, Benny Benny, Bogang, Huma, Holly Jolly Paka, Adis for Promthap, Het Quebec, Peony K, Phoenix, Dot, Little Cat Uwu. This is fucking ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. Akito, Sato, my bad. SS, Tse Yen, Sakana, Ami, Riri, Lemonade, Kaname, Yi Ting, Chiri, Phantom, Masato, Nera, Tri Princess, a name I can't read, Ui-chan, Jasanet, another name I can't read, Kure, Zalfuse, another name I can't read, Somesukare, Kumaki, Wak Wak, Iris, Jane Cow, Jamin, Phoenix, Slag, Hijiri, Mito, Rinrin Hello, Aki, Rachel H, Xiaolu, Maz, Non, Nikki, Yui, Yiting, Yahweh, another name I can't read, Jasanet, Nekusaka, Mamero, Trish, Prism Song, Chichi Wong, Amelia, Hyde, Ka, Yufu, Guri, Zipok, Nozomi, Lu, Ka, Lamkarlan, Tria, Yiling, Youngju, Doraru's World, Felicia, Leaf, Yuan, Shirley, MM, Tokito, Sodabop, Mary Lively, Gakura, Christy, Estefi, Hakuro, G, Iris, Levi A, Monomaru, Mary, Esther, Masato, Suzume, Trinaya, Hinatako, Asip Take, Miso, Porei, Megumi 62, Animofu, Kasano, Miyaki, CYH, Miso, Tameki, Yuri Pendragon, Jia, Ying, Lin, Xin Yu, Dumb Fox, Pinkerton, Reesmore, Emma Jane, Shang, Tian Ying, AC, Sena, Josie Amber, Saku. Another name I can't read. Chia, Oharu, Angel. I feel like I can take a break. God. I apologize. I know you all wanted this to be different. But I can't pretend that things are the same. I can't pretend I can smile and laugh and say thank you when all of these donations came after I told you what I'd done. I'm grateful. Immensely. Surprised. Stunned. In disbelief. That this much is given to someone so undeserving like me. All I want to ask is that you think. Please? When you support someone like me, think about why you're doing it. If my voice influences you to do this, thank you. I appreciate it, but think again. Do you want to support someone who has killed before and will inevitably do so again? Please, be influenced to do that. Kitty Pride, Janju, Janshira, Nyanya, Yuisu for an Akasupa, thank you. Fairy Baby, Saku, Black Crown, Nyanya with an Akasupa, thank you. Flora, Ethereal Waters, Ming Ming, Parang, Yufu with an Akasupa, thank you. Jasanet, SEK, Mino, Allison, Akarose, Ice Soda, Shizuku, Jewel, Kairos Akuma, a name I can't read. Irinu Chichu, a name I can't read. Kuroi 2.0 for an Akasupa, thank you. Eva, Erin Cruel, Yutingir, Yukiko, Olivia for an Akasupa, thank you. Izzy Hasegawa, Umadachi, Mitsuki, Shiro, Mianya, thank you for the Akasupa. Simkara, Surukula, Nyan, another name I can't read. Saku, Pause Play, KS Ray, Anne, Zefen Lex, Lily, SSE, Kura, Black Crown, Mianya, Kirihara Akida, thank you for the Akasupa. Raven, another name I can't read. Sakurada, Jasinet, Yuri, Y Orange, another name I can't read. Guan Yu Chen, Evan, Anne, Tarushka, Sunny, Chilik, Curse 10, Cynthia, Heika, BL. Some motherfucker has called himself Jiro and is pretending like it's all fine. Whoever that is, maybe I deserve the little punch in the gut, but I'd like you to stop. Maybe it's a part of your sense of humor, but whatever. BL, Nephistopheles, Venti, Kimiko, thank you for the Akasupa. Kake, Nyanya, Rin Kazuma, Coco Snow, thank you for the Akasupa. Sonochino Sadame, Christy, Shako, Miyu, Ruiz, Gladys, Kazalemon, Tarushka, Very Baby, Classica, Magic, Koizakura, Remy for the Akasupa, Guan for the Akasupa, Ting, thank you, Kusako, thank you for the Akasupa, Natalie, Lokius, Jelly, Super Puppy, Nikki, Cheo, Senka for the Akasupa, Leon Mochi, Maho, Anne, Ming Yoru, Angela for the Akasupa, Misaki for the Akasupa, Yute, Smee, Donaru's World, Maruilin, Jamin, Black Ram, Lisa, Sabina Kari, Zoku, Kumaki, Phoenix, WR, Hakuma, Cello, Shwanzia, Nini, Inori, Enduk, Snotaku, Oharu, Sage, Remy, Fafa Family, Yuisu, Chris, Usachi, Nyanya, Maruilin, Snotaku, Jamin, Phoenix, Zestu, Tanya Lee, Speaker, Kane, Shushu, Mirai, Anne, Benny, Akasupa, thank you. Mega, Akasupa, thank you. Avery, Lynn, Caramel, Akasupa, thank you. Shadow Aisha, Anne, Benny, thank you for the Akasupa. HC, Flying Cuckoo, thank you for the Akasupa. Uro, Benny, thank you for the Akasupa. Yun, thank you for the Akasupa. Bakuchuchu, Benny, Fanyu, Kayla, Kairos, Angelila, Nikoko, Chun, Ada, Ali Mars, thank you for the Akasupa. Blue Giraffe, Light, a Mushroom, Vox Akuma, Tony J, Masato, Manto, Chan, thank you for the Akasupa and for this long chain from everybody else. It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? You know what else is really selfish is projecting all of this onto you. You don't come to me to feel sad. You come to me for comfort. Come to me to relax, to be entertained. That's all it's ever been. Am I standing here and weeping? What am I doing? I have to say thank you. I can't let that go away. Guan, Cloud, Akarose, Estang, thank you for the Akasupa. Gabrielle, thank you for the Akasupa. Anring, the name I can't read. Lynn, Lavis, Kiki, thank you for the Akasupa. Pinkalicious Bunny, Teresa Way, Gladys, Krispy Kreme, Krisu, thank you. Harumi, thank you for the Akasupa. All of these are Akasupas from this big mid-director chain. So thank you to everyone who participated in this. Chillax, Mufang, Ame, Capo X, Chen, Murasaki, Fengshimu, Fei Li, Moonwatcher, Didier, Tozaganai, Ling Yan, Sleepy Owl, Miao Bing, Evanlin, Tairosua, Yining, Kuku Miao, Anfang, Hakuyamu, Coco, Zestu, Ararere, Shiwei, Sapphire, Rumi, Sachi, Isbeb Mosai, Bibi-chan, thank you. All of those were Akasupas. Kairos Akuma, a mushroom, Nanji for 2 supers, thank you. Salted fish, Ya'anan, Kairi Kane for another chain. So all of these are Akasupas. Fucking hell. Meow Meow Zai Zai, Hot Pot, Ji Hyun Kim, Danya, Lumos, Fengshimu, Suika, Irishin, Nekosaka, Fafafamili, Lukluk, Luluelf, Yutingia, Nekosaka, Fengshimu, Kairikane, Moyenshen, Langwan, Mingming, Aura, Naku, Xiunya, Langwan, Yuki, Chillax, Peiying, Nekosaka, Crystal C. Thank you for all of those Akasupas. Chillax for a rainbow. Thank you. Monomeguru. Rita Rita, Rain Rain, Chen, Dablia, Yasanet, Viola for an Akasupa, Miao Jing, Sao Shou, Yubo for the Akasupa, thank you. Albacores, thank you for the Akasupa. Phoenix, Saku, Phoenix again. Peiying, Lily for a rainbow, thank you. Huma for a rainbow, thank you so much. Mumu, Mamon for an Akasupa. Multi, Yukokyu, thank you for an Akasupa. Poppy, Anne, Youngju, Yan Yan, Fern, thank you for the Akasupa. Oritsuki, Malapis, Kathy, Tender Dream, thank you for the Akasupa. Mushroom, Chilik, Multi, Yinjia, thank you for the Akasupa. Lydia, thank you for the Akasupa. And Sabina Kari as well, thank you. Youngju, Liu Sha, Mimi, thank you for 2 Akasupas. Appreciate that so much. Tian Tian, Oli Jolly Paka, Youngju, Phoenix Jihang for an Akasupa, thank you. April, Darius, Oila, Berry Ran, Kanai, Muli, thank you for the Akasupa. Yongshu, Plum Blumpst, Enex, Avery, Miratress, Kumaki, Yongshu for a rainbow. Black Crown, Cello for an Akasupa. Tarushka, Aya, Scarlet Shadow, Sai, Lu Jingxi, Meep loves you very much. Thank you. Voxagra, Tannis Wildheart, Ka, Blahaj, Cheling, Youngju, Phoenix, Candy, Misa for the Akasupa. Angel Reithenor, Usachi, thank you. Nikoko X, thank you for the Akasupa to both of you. Anne, Albacoris, Sunny Kindred for the Akasupa. Rachel Shen for the Akasupa. Tarushka, Sunshine, Usachi, Sia, Smee, Michiko, Kindred Anon, Mislin, Toya, Sachi, Lulu, Shifty Enigma, Melody Chilling Yolo, thank you for the Akasupa. Judy, thank you for the Akasupa. Lily, thank you for the rainbow. Hakuma, Krispy Kreme, Fufu Ching, Rinko, Moin Chen, Saisei Seki. Dana, thank you for the Akasupa. Mianya, Jane Ju, Alina K, Lydia D's Nuts. Maybe need to appreciate how fucking ridiculous this is. Inso, Lumen, Surukula, Juice, Kanai, Capo X, Akarose, Usachi, and Peichan for the Akasupa. Thank you. That's the top of that list. There are more, but I'll get to those in a moment. Ugh. I hate to sound labored and upset, because I really am grateful. Well, I've bellyached long enough. I need to chill the fuck out. I know. No, I'm not okay, but thank you for asking. Yeah, perhaps you're right. Perhaps you're right, Onigiria. After everything that happened between us, it's nice to know that you still believe in me. I have to believe I have the power to do good. I have to believe that continuing to do this is not purely selfish. I have to believe that in my own way I am bringing good to the world and good to you. Am I not evil? Am I not a bad person? After all that? Just remember the way I get inside your head. Don't be so quick to absolve me. Thank you, Stella, for the Akasupa. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Sakana. Ako, for the Akasupa. Felicia. Yu Jong. Roku69, thank you. Jenny Alex for the Akasupa, thank you. Kasano for the Akasupa, thank you. May. Jassy for the Akasupa, thank you. Lucia. Kusako. Frederick. Miat Singh. ONL, thank you for the Akasupa. Bogang. Kuyoki. Neko-chan. Efita. Neko-chan again. Asta. Anne with an Akasupa. Angela with an Akasupa. Cerulia for the Akasupa. How lucky you were to have a birthday on the day the film came out. Hane Toya for the Akasupa. Thank you. Angelica, Kimi, Mira Crystal, Barang, Katsuki. Tsubaki for the Akasupa. Hazuki Choko, Black Crown, Sugary Paco, Jun Upa, Miki. Name I can't read. Worried, Koni, Emotional Support, Yana, Novala, Leonaki, Mishri Misery, ZKK for the Akasupa, thank you. Cherry, Zephyr, Nara Ryans, Ershan, Tori, Kyo, Voxagra, Sky, Soguchi, Chun, Nuri, Momoku, Gloves, Tihi. God. I really am too lucky. No matter how happy I might have made you as an individual, I know I don't deserve this. Maybe someday I will. I don't know if I can ever do enough good to outweigh that kind of bad. But I will try. I will try. Katakitoshi, Rebecca M, Yui Yui for the Akasupa, Mochi, Ika, Elsh, and Wolf Mama. Oh. I'm going to try and distract myself a little. I do have some good news. Okay, I need to make an effort. I need to sharp myself up a little. Hold on. One moment. I don't have anything to literally show you right now, but I do have some very good news. Let's turn a little music back on. Try and feel better. Some very good news. And my plan was to tell you yesterday, but I was in a horrible state of affairs, and I was in so much pain, and I could barely think straight, and I forgot to tell you all a lot of things. The Demon Hungers will be printed and sold as a graphic novel, and it will be available for pre-order very, very soon, probably in the next week or two. If you would like to financially support this kind of project, purchasing the graphic novel is the best way of doing so. There are pages in the graphic novel that did not appear in the final film, and there is a cover with a blurb that you will have to purchase to read, and there are some lines of dialogue that were cut from the film, and if you would like to learn more, you can go and do that. See, that's good, isn't it? You can buy it in graphic novel form, which I will say, rather than being something that you would do to support me, do it to support this type of project. Because if the people with, you know, if the wider community sees how successful this kind of thing can be, maybe we'll get to make more. And having a printed graphic novel is, Melikas, the artist, one of her dreams. And she was over the moon when she learned that we would be able to produce that. So it will be available for pre-order very soon, and I will make sure to let you all know about that soon. And alongside it, an official multi-sized print of the poster will also be available. I know a lot of you have gone and printed the poster yourself, which is fine. You know, didn't tell you not to, but an official print in very high resolution is going to be printed as well in 3 different sizes. So you can have a small one, a medium one, or a big one. I want to reiterate, if you'd like to, because this project was extremely expensive to produce, if you'd like to support me financially, purchasing the graphic novel or the poster or both is absolutely the best way to do so. So I would really appreciate it if you enjoyed the Demon Hungers, and if you want to see more projects like it, I have many, many stories to tell, and I would like to share them with you. So if you get the chance, when those are published and when it's ready, I'll show it to you. Okay? Thank you, Yui. Thank you, Yui Su Sachi Huma. Thank you. So yes, it's a nice way of giving back. I think you can have a physical copy of the graphic novel, which will include some bonus pages and that sort of thing. So that ought to be good. Otherwise, I think I need to take the rest of the day to rest. I'm still in some pain, and as you can tell, I'm not handling this whole streaming business very well, so I think I need some time. I will have a schedule tonight that will detail the next week. I have some ideas for things I'd like to do. Wu Ching, thank you for the Akasupa. Well, okay, I suppose that'll be my promise then. I can't stop you from staying. I can't stop you from choosing to support me, and I can't stop you from finding comfort, even if you now know what you know about me. If you do choose to do that, I too will do my best to continue to comfort you. I will continue to do my best to make you laugh. I will continue to do my best to do all of it. Because I am this lucky. And if I turn that away, well, I think I'd be doing more harm than good. So I'm very happy and excited to stay and to show you more of what I have planned. I'll give you a little teaser as well. There was another project that I wanted to drop by surprise at the end after I had done what would have been the after party and became a insane stream of me screaming for half an hour. I wanted to drop something else, but it didn't wind up being ready in the end. Well, it is ready, but we have some changes to make to it. But there's something else on the horizon, so just more to look forward to, you know? Okay. That's going to do it for me for today. I am going to... I'll see you all tomorrow. I would like to stream again tomorrow because I've missed you, and if I can make you happy in my own way, then I'll try. So, last of all from me, thank you for what's been quite a strange attempt to re-enter this world. I hope I can do right by the kindness you've shown me.